lost his helmet, keeps running without a hat. Owens, touchdown. Oh, he flaps his wings like a big eagle bird in the end zone. McNabb shows play action and goes deep over the middle. It's intercepted at the 45-yard line of Dallas by Jenkins. Deep fade Austin, all alone, miles and miles and miles to go. Austin, touchdown.
Romo going deep for Bryant, touchdown. 3 touchdown catches tonight for Dez Bryant. Big hole, hurdle, outside the 20, loses his balance, but he gets inside the 10 for a first and goal.
There's a lot to this game, isn't there, guys? It's like so much hatred to it. Welcome to Cover 4. Barry, Tay, Dave, myself. What's interesting is how Zeke was asked about, oh, do you think of this as a rival? Blah, blah, blah. He's like, no. I don't.
Yeah.
And the Eagles, on the other hand, before they played earlier this year, were all into it. This is Dallas week, this, that. The Cowboys don't act the same.
That's the one thing I've always noticed is like the Birds do a lot of chirping this week, and the Cowboys just kind of lay in the cut.
But wouldn't you love to see some Cowboys players just doing the wings again?
I would
Mike
love that.
Jenkins
I would
style?
love it.
Yeah.
Sounds awesome.
Well, I've got something that's not fun news at all, and that's that QB1 was not able to throw in practice yesterday. Yeah. So before we get into it, let's just head to the locker room and see what our buddy Ezekiel Elliott and company had to say about Dak.
And then Dak banged up his shoulder in the game. Happened early on in the game, so he'll be somewhat limited today in practice.
Right shoulder?
Yes, right shoulder.
Yeah, Dak's going to play. I think he's just resting up, make sure everything is as right as it can be by game time. Dealt with some AC joints, and they're tough. I couldn't imagine having to throw with us. So, but I know Dak. I know his toughness. I know he'll play.
We're super confident in our guys. They probably wouldn't be here if we weren't, but Cooper Rush is a more than capable quarterback, and no matter what the situation is, we're still getting great reps on our plays.
If you had to play, what would be your degree of readiness?
It's a normal prep week. You get the actual reps in practice now, so you feel a little better. You get all the mental reps usually, but now actually going out there, first team day running reps helps.
So Ezekiel Elliott was actually the one to break the news and say, guys, it's an AC joint. So
You got to give Jason Garrett a little bit of credit. Like, he came out and told us about the Dak injury without anybody asking him.
This is true.
Which has never happened ever. Which also
to me says something weird is going on. It's really not.
Ding, ding, ding.
Not great.
Dak has never been on the injury report at all. I mean, he's never been
missed practice.
limited in practice.
This is an AC joint on the throwing arm as well.
Yeah.
Ooh.
This is not a small thing.
Not at all. How do you get it over top?
So Cooper Rush, who was talking yesterday.
Don't go there.
I really do. Dak's going to play.
He's going to play.
He'll find a way to play. I just don't know how effective.
You better hope that Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott do the same thing.
That's what we got to have.
Did last.
63.
Right? Okay, so up in Philly, they caught wind of this news as well. And let's just check in on them and see how they're feeling as they're crawling out of their hole that they've dug themselves in.
There's a lot of energy right now on the offensive side of the ball, just guys playing fast, everyone kind of trusting one another, and just understanding that this is a heck of an opportunity that we have, and it doesn't matter who's in there, it doesn't matter how many years you've played in this league, kind of what your role is on the team. We need everyone right now. It takes all 53 guys, all 46 on game day to be at our best, and I feel like that's what we've had, especially some of these young guys stepping up.
I think the biggest thing is trying to get everybody to understand that this is just a game. At the end of the day, the cameras and the hype, the situation, the context around it makes it a big deal. But when they turn, when the ball snaps, it's still just like in the game. The rules are the same, football's the same. So don't make it any bigger than it is. Obviously, we know what's riding on the game, but when it comes to doing your job and executing and what wins, it's nothing different.
So what you didn't see is a reporter running up to Malcolm Jenkins saying, did you hear about Dak? And he's like, no, I didn't. And they said he's injured on his throwing arm, and he said that doesn't really affect me at all. He's going to play. But does it make you feel some type of way, Barry, if you hear that?
If you hear that, depending on how hard the injury is, it is an AC joint. So for me, I'm looking like, I'm looking at my chops like, man, if you got to throw the ball, that's opportunity for me to get an interception. But we know Dak's going to go out there and he's going to perform at a high level. He's just trying to say what he has to say.
Funny because Malcolm Jenkins, it felt like he was like almost giving himself a pep talk. He's like, this game isn't bigger than it really is. Yes, it is. This is a huge game. They know what's at stake. They know what's at stake for both teams. They're both 7-7. It's a really even matchup here, and this will decide the division for the Cowboys. I think they're excited, honestly, about Dak's injury, and I know that sounds bad, but they know that that's their advantage.
Why do you think the Eagles have been able to even stay in the conversation?
Honestly, because they have a really good quarterback, in my opinion. I mean, and it hasn't been pretty for the Eagles the last 2 weeks. If you watch those games against the Giants and the Redskins, their secondary is gross, not in a great way. Their defense hasn't been playing fantastic by any stretch. They do have a really good quarterback. Carson Wentz is basic. I mean, he's got Zach Ertz and then a bunch of guys that nobody's ever heard of, and he's piecing it together.
I think the reason they've been able to stay afloat is the same reason the Cowboys have. This is a bad division. The past two games that they've had wins have been in the division. Before that, they were making bad teams look good. I mean, Ryan Fitzpatrick looked great against them. So they're doing the same thing that the Cowboys are doing, winning in the division. It's just going to come down to this weekend.
You could say the Eagles have managed to stay afloat because the Cowboys haven't been better.
Exactly.
That's true.
That's the harsh reality.
Yeah, it's not anything particular on their team.
Let's go behind enemy lines because, yes, there will still be some matchups that we need to keep our eye on. And, Dave, you are first. You're picking Sean Vintage Lee drinking from the Fountain of Youth.
Well, look what he did last week. He did drink from the Fountain of Youth. My man got a pick for the first time in 2 years. He's going to need it again. I just mentioned guys that you've never heard of. Boston Scott. You might have heard of him because you watched the Eagles game on Monday Night Football. That's the only reason why. Lower tier running back, bottom of the depth chart. He was a practice squad guy. He bounced around to several teams in the NFL. Shows up, and what's he do over the last 2 weeks? He's got 85 rushing yards, 108 receiving yards. He's caught 13 balls the last 2 weeks. Why? Because the Eagles don't have any wide receivers. They're looking at their running backs. They're looking at their tight ends. Ertz, we know about Ertz. We're going to talk about Ertz. But this guy you maybe haven't heard of, and I think he could do damage if the Cowboys linebackers aren't on their P's and Q's. Sean, do a big guy.
Sean plays great in division games. He could do this in his sleep, it seems like, out there.
I think so. Vintage Lee. He's known for it.
Well, the guy that plays the best against the Eagles is Ezekiel Elliott, and he needs to do it again this weekend. He needs to have a big game. He's had back-to-back 2-touchdown games. We have to have this blue-collar yards that he's been getting. Be forceful with the run this weekend, especially when you have a beat-up quarterback who's probably not going to be able to throw. And guys, they are 9-0 when Dak throws 25 attempts or less. So give it to Zeke all day. If you got to get Pollard out there, that's fine. Yes, they think that their rush defense is better, but Zeke is actually the only rusher that has had 100 yards on them this whole season long. So he is confident against this Eagles team. Do it again.
Eagles, surprisingly, third in run defense at this point. Now, I know we're all praying for a win. Cowboys fans, you're praying early. So we've got an early church service for you, Barry.
Thank you, Lindsay, and welcome to church. Now, today we have a special sermon for you. Today, we're going over the All-Pro, All-World, Mr. Do Everything tight end for the Philadelphia Eagles, Zach Ertz. Now, this guy, he can be a game wrecker, a defensive game plan destroyer if you do not play him the right way. Let's take an example of how not to play Zach Ertz. Now right here we have the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Chicago Bears. The Eagles are in 12 personnel. For those of you who don't know what 12 personnel is, that's 1 running back and 2 tight ends. Now here we have Zach Ertz in the hang position. Now we call that the hang position for pass catching tight ends. Those are for the tight ends that want to get off the ball, that don't have to worry about getting jammed by your corners or your safeties. So he's in the off position right there. And as we continue to play here, we can see, as we pause it right here, we can see Zach Ertz stemming the corner to his outside leverage. Now, what I mean by stemming is he's attacking that corner on his outside leverage, forcing that corner to widen out, in turn, opening a huge passing lane for Wentz to throw him the ball when he's ready to get it. So as we erase those and as we continue, as we can pause it right there. Now this part right here, this is where Zach Ertz is special. This is where I think he's one of the top 3 tight ends in the game. He's able to separate not only from safeties and linebackers, but from corners as well. Now he's able to do this by either a slight 1-2 step and get around you, or a slight nudge, a slight push off that no ref is gonna call. So he gets away from corners. As we continue this play, we see that he gets the separation from the cornerback, and he's able to create that amazing space for Wentz to hit him with the ball from the stemming I talked about earlier. He's in the end zone. He's in the end zone for a touchdown. We do not want that happening to our secondary this afternoon. So what we got to do is listen to me. Listen to Coach Church, because I got the 3 rules to lock down Zach Ertz. First of all, you have to beat this guy up at the line of scrimmage. This is a tight end that we're talking about, and he's not as wiggly as a receiver, but you can get in his head by jamming him at the line of scrimmage. We have the safeties here with the capabilities to get in his head, jam him up at the line of scrimmage, distract him from Carson Wentz early in the down, so he has to go somewhere else with the ball. That'll be our advantage. Number 2, we have to keep our leverage. With all Rod Marinelli's defenses, he always has a low hole player. Usually that's your middle linebacker, Jalen Smith, who's responsible for all low shallows and helping it on all medium type big routes on the inside. So you have to play him outside strong, funnel him into all your help in there. It'll make your job that much easier. And last but certainly not least is you have to be great one-on-one tacklers with this guy. Now look, this is probably the Eagles' #1 and only offensive threat that's going into the game this week. So they're going to be pumping him the ball left and right. He may catch a pass or two on you. If he does, you have to bring him down immediately. Do not let this guy get going. He's known for turning 5 to 10-yard routes into 20 to 30-yard gains simply by missed tackles. So you have to bring this guy down when you get the opportunity to extort all the explosive plays. Make sure he's down on the ground. And if you listen to me, if you listen to church, you'll come home with the W, you'll come home with the division, and you'll punch your playoff ticket, and anything can happen once you get into the playoffs.
Nice, Barry. Let's go to Throwback Thursday so we can see some more Barry. Take us to church. 2013. Eagles pull out a 24-22 road victory. Kyle Orton in this one, guys.
Man, Shady McCoy.
Talking about like the frenzy around an injured quarterback. I remember they announced Romo wasn't going to play in this game on like a Tuesday or a Wednesday, and it was a not great. I was going to say something vulgar. An ugly game.
2009. Dallas shut out Philly 24-0 to win the NFC East. Following week in the wild card round, the two teams met again.
No, I don't think they can. Didn't they play the next week? They absolutely did. They've been in the playoffs. It was Romo's first playoff win, if I remember.
Uncle Felix Jones going down the
I don't think the Cowboys can shut the Eagles out this week, but it would be fun.
It's just they don't really seem to be shutout teams at this point.
No.
Your boy Wade. T.O. Here we go. 2008, Eagles took down the Cowboys easily 44-6.
Wow.
What's going on?
Hey, Ben, you know that the Cowboys beat the Eagles badly in 2014 to take the lead in the division back in the day. We could have showed that.
Yeah, this is true.
This is like the low point of Tony Romo's career, right?
44.
You win and you're into the playoffs and you get pasted by 38 points. Hopefully,
little bye-bye Wade.
Does not happen this week.
Hopefully that's not a sign of what's to come on Sunday, because I mean
We're just trying to show you it could be worse.
For the rest of his career.
That's what could.
Where's the 2014 highlights?
2016.
Or 2016. 2018 for that matter. Come on.
2-minute drill time. Here we go. We all know it's been over a decade since anyone has won the East back-to-back.
Yeah.
But what would it mean? Would there be any significance to the Cowboys doing it?
What do they do after that? What do they do after they win?
Educate me, David.
No, what do they do after they clinch the East? If they clinch the East and win some playoff games, then that's cool.
So you're saying otherwise, who cares?
I don't care at all if they
They have to be more than one and done in the playoffs?
Yes.
I agree.
I agree. What franchise is this?
This is the Cowboys.
How many Super Bowl trophies have they won?
What, 5?
They don't hang banners for divisions in Dallas.
True.
So
America's
I don't care at all unless they make a playoff
To
run.
me, though, this is where it comes into play on what's the coaching staff going to look like next year.
Fair.
This might be a decision that they might be making higher up about who's coaching this team next year, what matters more. I mean, does it matter to win your division or does it matter to go deep in the playoffs? That's where it really ultimately comes down to when you're talking about this question. Because, I think we were talking about it earlier, Lindsay. You were asking when was the last time. It was over a decade. And so the fact of the matter is that it really doesn't matter. It's who's winning Super Bowls in this division.
This is true.
I like what you said there, though, because what matters? Winning the division matters because it helps you go deep in the playoffs, because it guarantees you a home game.
But does it matter if you just get there by default?
Hey, getting there's getting there. You just got to do something when you do it. And again, win a game, win 2 games, preferably win 4 games once you get to the playoffs. But just winning the division, just to say you did it, just so that in 5 years, Lindsay can be on the show and say, hey, they haven't won back-to-back divisions since 2018, 2019. I don't care. You got to do something with it.
So how far do you think they have to make it in the playoffs to have a successful run, to keep this coaching staff around? NFC Championship. Just getting there, or they have to win?
At least get there.
All the way.
You
got to go all the way.
All the way, like
even a victory all
lift
the way?
the trophy?
I'm done going halfway, 3/4 of the way. Yeah. Now get to the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Get to the Super Bowl.
Okay.
And I'll be
Respect.
happy.
I respect
We
that.
know you can get to bigger games.
With Cooper Rush behind the helm.
Cooper Rush leads this team to the Super Bowl.
Lindsay's a good point because, like, it's easy to sit here now and say, well, if they get to the NFC title game, that'll be good. But if they get there and don't win, is anybody
Are you going to rah that they got a step closer?
Nobody's going to be happy.
Is anybody out there going to rah for a step closer?
Not your
Division
boy.
Get there. You can. You have the talent.
Never know.
Let's go. Okay, we were a little
Yes.
Let's go.
we were a little harsh this show. We'll be back Friday. You know it's chill. We'll see you tomorrow. Is it Friday tomorrow?
Yeah.
9:20. Y'all are on holiday break. We working.
There we go.